Jaoko Oburu Odinga, who is a special advisor in the Executive Office of the President dealing with economic empowerment and sustainable livelihoods, and joins us on set really to speak about the whole agenda and, of course, what his role in the administration is. Thank you, Jaoko, for joining us.
Oh, thank you very much.
Karibu sana. Probably you can start with telling us the role of the very office that you occupy, that of Special Advisor on Economic Empowerment and Livelihoods.
Oh, thank you. I'm very happy to be here, and that question is as broad-based as our government, because I came in, I was appointed as an advisor in this broad-based government that we have now, the handshake between His Excellency the President and His Excellency the Prime Minister, Odinga. So now my role as a member of this government is to, as you read that card, basically look at how to create sustainable livelihoods, especially for the marginalized. So what I've done is that, given that we as a government now are looking at the better bottoms-up economic transformation agenda and 5 pillars, I've reached out to experts. Some of them are my friends, and because as an advisor, I'm just appointed alone. And since I was appointed alone, in, as I said, the broad-based government, you can imagine that the people who had been feeling sidelined or not included in the government system came rushing at me, an experience that I think most of our people who have been appointed in this government now under the broad-based agreement will tell you is real. So my office, which is actually in KICC, has been flooded by a lot of goodwill. A lot of goodwill with ideas, many very good ideas, and Kenyans are very creative, by the way. In fact, I even have something in my pocket right now. I wanted to share it today. It is from a pencil. This is the end of a pencil that normally would be the rubber. Now in here is a seed. Now a Kenyan has taken first paper and recycled it, used it to make the
Hold it from so that the
pen.
camera is able to zoom into.
Now, this is paper, and then the rubber. This is a biodegradable end. There are seeds in here for a tree. So once the child in the school sharpens the pencil and reaches here, they plant this in the ground and they adopt this tree. This immediately goes to help us in our 15 billion target of trees.
Listening to you, because you've mentioned the Nyota and Hustler Fund, all of them by the government for economic inclusion. And you're a catalyst, as you say, your office is acting as a catalyst, and you also bring donors to the table to obviously meet some of the needs that are with these groups. Question is, has Hustler Fund, or for example, Nyota, failed in the objective of economic inclusion, so much so that we are now sourcing for financing to create more economic opportunities elsewhere?
Well, some of the challenges, the challenges are there. The funds are there because, if you look at even the Women Fund, Youth Fund, those funds have been there for a while. These are other ones have also just have come in, and we realize that we are bringing funds, and sometimes that person who we're targeting with the funds is lacking capacity to use the fund and pay it back. So one of the things that Nyota Fund is addressing is saying, look, we want to train you first before you have access to, let's say, the 50,000 shillings for the individual. And then we've also identified a weakness there. We said, look, in our country, one of the challenges we have is that when you give me money individually, and sometimes you tell me it's a grant that might not have to be paid back, I don't become a responsible citizen. I also have to take responsibility as a citizen. When given that money, when given that money, what do I do with? So we are looking at saying, look, as we train, we are also going to train people on how to cooperate, so that funds are grouped, so that I'm responsible for you, you're responsible for me. That way, the payment rate will be better, the rate of success will be better. These things, like any other fund, will have a challenge, like any other initiative somewhere, must have a challenge. And now, when by actual implementation, we see where the challenges are, and we actively run to see how to bring them together. Now, us as an advisory, you can see that one is one of our key areas. Even when we were talking today, we went there, the number one agenda was how to unlock that. Because we do not agree that the Hustler Fund and the Nyota Fund, any other fund cannot work. It can work. We actually this was 2011, 2012, with there's a team we worked together then, and that it was, the motive was, we came from politics, but it was there. We identified this inability to access women fund, youth fund, especially in the western region. So we went to the ministry, and we worked with them from the application, helping that person apply, which they applied at the grassroots, to making sure that the PS or the minister delivered the check. Because sometimes you go there, somebody says, I applied and it never came. The check is sitting in the ministry. They don't know, and no one has told, they're not told, and vice versa, they've never checked. So from that experience, I am very optimistic. From what we can do, our part, we will be able to bring many more Kenyans to the table where they can actually benefit from what is being offered by the government. Because we're finding that government, what the government has is not known enough to the people. And that also brings a lot of
and I'm glad you've said you have had a conversation with Minister Oparanya. Because yesterday, and of course there's also a response from the ministry in terms of one of the demands yesterday issued by the Kenya Human Rights Commission was the abolishment of Hustler Fund. They call it the betrayal of hustlers. From where you sit, is that a welcome conversation? Is it a conversation probably your office can have with the KHRC, probably to also bring an understanding of how beneficial probably the fund is to the normal hustler, as they've been called?
We must have that conversation with them. We must. I'll give you an example. We know very well, and it's a conversation we even had with Waziri Oparanya at another function when we're working with KEPSA. That's the Kenya Private Sector Alliance. Private sector, we've identified as a major partner in anything that we're doing, because again, government is not a good business entity. We are enablers. We enable, we create a conducive environment, okay, for business. So you'll find KEPSA, the Chamber of Commerce as part of the teams that we are engaging as we go along. Now, when we say that you abolish that Hustler Fund, yet I'm telling you, somebody might look at 100 shillings as nothing, 200 bob. That guy at the construction site goes there, he doesn't have fare to go, he goes and borrows the 100 or 200, is enough for lunch, and is enough for his fare to and from work. That is all he has. At the end of the week, he repays it. And like that. There's enough people who are actually making that thing work for them. So that we should now look at how to intervene on those who it has not worked so well for. And see how we can make sure that we all become owners of, because it's our funds, by the way, it's our funds. It's not a government fund. It's money that comes from you, myself, and everybody else in this country. So that ownership, that patriotism, slowly as we look at it and become responsible, also me, I should, while I'm pointing at somebody else for corruption, let me also be responsible for myself, just a little bit that I have. Let me be responsible for that. Then before pointing, because these fingers, by the way, when I pointed, too many are pointing back at me. Yes.
You have an experience yourself on resource mobilization, of course, from your stint as the CEC in CIA, and you've also been involved particularly in mobilizing resources, even for political campaigns. How are you leveraging on that experience to ensure that in this docket that you're in, there's enough money raised for the causes that you're advancing?
Thank you, Jaoko. That is a good one. I'm from the Odinga family, first of all. Yeah. There's a time when being Odinga was taboo. Now, these days, you can sit here and say, Jaoko Odinga, and the door maybe opens. There's a time at Jaoko Odinga, people ran away. And even, I remember when I started in Siaya County in 2014 as Investment and Resource Mobilization Advisor. And, I could not visit the county commission because that time, it was before the handshake of President Uhuru Kenyatta and the Prime Minister. I'm telling you, they were the county commissioner, national government, and we were the county. And that was that. But what being in that family taught me during those days, because we did not have any access to any advantage at all from government, government would not work with us, period. The only place you could go and find an opportunity was going to the private sector. So you had to think outside the box. You learn how to create something from nothing. We were, even in the political space, you had to be creative because you were operating with no money. Our supporters would just support because it's a cause and not because you've even offered a bottle of water. To a meeting, These days, maybe somebody can say, hey, Ada Maji, I'm a fair. Yeah. See, but we learned how to operate outside the box. So it gave me a huge advantage when I was the first investment and resource mobilization advisor in the county governments in Kenya, period. There's no one else. No one thought it meant anything anyway. But then, because of my experience out here, I was able to take that docket. And whether there was per diem, no per diem, and etc., I networked everywhere. And I remember one of my favorite guys who always used to like Governor Anyang. Whenever he meets me, he says, "What is that title of yours again?" He was senator then. He immediately became governor. He had to create that position. Even the fish farming that is happening in the lake now, that we brought that on board that time. And I found it when bureaucracy was killing it. This German consultant had done a very beautiful plan with GIZ. And now he was trying to implement it. But you hear the kind of bureaucratic things that he's not even reached the governor yet. Telling him the way he wrote the letter, you're supposed to write it first to Jacob, then he marks it down to us. You can't just come with a letter to us. There was a lot of stories. So, but because of my private sector, I went there with a private sector approach. I'd never worked in government, so I had little respect for protocol. So, I didn't know how to, leave alone little respect for it. They're serious professionals, like our chair, Dr. Kiprono. Paul Kiprono is a serious expert in his field. He has worked in economic empowerment and inclusivity across the country for decades. We have our CEO, Joy Urungi. She was a pioneer CEC for sports in Meru during Governor Munya's time. I mean, we have very serious professionals on board, and we're all thinking outside the box. We didn't come here that there's a budget that we're going to operate with. No, we're making the budget. We're even creating jobs. And yes, as we're sitting there, we're looking. Okay, how do we create even jobs for Kenyans, for youth. Even I mentioned you the Black Soldier Fly. Those are all jobs.
It's quite a magnificent plan you got. Listening to you, and of course the team you have assembled together to help you, and the kind of synergy you have with cabinet secretaries. How do you seal this arrangement from political interference? Because I mean, one would argue, per se, probably your office can also be linked to politics. But how do you seal the gains probably that you will make from political interference?
One, from remember we talked about Siaya County. I told you I learned where the space where I can operate. And then one of the good things, I was working with the governor, Cornel Rasanga, a seasoned bureaucrat, by the way, is a good teacher. I realized something, that government, unless you put something on paper, it is politics. Yes. Politics only sweeps things that are in the air. When you take something and you write on paper to a government person, they have to respond. They have to take action. There has to be some action. Something has to be marked there. So this is what we are doing, our office, right from the beginning. We talk about when we visited Governor Oparanya, it was from a request for courtesy call letter, which is marked to all, including my boss. Okay? When we leave from there, we again write back, highlight everything that we've discussed. We requested to there having a working team. And then one of the things I just told you, NCIC today, we signed an MOU, okay? And we're moving through the formal process of government. I know how bureaucracy works, and I'm using that advantage to make sure that our things are anchored in systems, because systems are not vulnerable to politics, the way just words are. See, once you anchor in system and you create systems, even in our own setup, see, we've taken our programs, for example, hey, I'm the advisory, right? But now, these programs that I'm talking to you about are housed in a program that is running them, called Elevate Kenya. Now, Elevate Kenya has the chairman, the CEO, everything. Huh? So we are on a highway, moving anchored under the office of the president, so that we do not let any gains. And remember, the ministries own the other things that we're doing. So even if you fight Jaoko, that thing is gone from my hands. The time when this pencil, we did a proof of concept the other day in Ruiru here. In 3 weeks, we're going to go back, and we're going to invite you now. You come and see the grown pencil, and this, you see, achieves the two things. One, our forest cover of 15 billion trees, and two, that child who is adopting this tree. You can imagine the kind of citizen we are creating there. We are thinking like that. How do we change the minds of that future citizen so that they protect our environment and they restore where they can? We want that citizen to think, see, this is recycled paper from here. Before we even start making sure we make this paper here, how do you then take it and instead of it being damage to the environment, you turn it into this? See, like that. That is the kind of citizen who we are cultivating integrity. Okay, I think, as far as from Jaramogi to me, I'd like to find someone who can go and go to Siaya, go wherever I've ever been. We are open like a book, genuine. I guess that's what sometimes brings love from.
And thank you for mentioning Mzee Jaramogi, because one of the most interesting questions I wanted to ask you as we wind up: how do you balance between being an Odinga and a government official now advising the president?
Let me tell you something interesting.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, I remember Jaramogi Sometimes, I think when I was born, the man was under house arrest. Late, as the time also went, in the 70s, he went through his things. In the 80s, he went through his things. Picked even with pajamas one time, put in jail, all kinds of harassment. And I was one of his favorite grandchildren there. But let the national anthem play, and you're sitting down. You shall know what it means to be a Kenyan. Because Jaramogi, despite all those things with the government, push and pull and all that, he understood very well, which I didn't understand until later, that what we only have one thing here, which we must protect. That is the nation, and the nation of Kenya. So us, when coming to this broad base, we didn't come because of A, B, C, D, E. We came because of Kenya. We wanted Kenya to stay united. You can imagine that it kind of, wherever you're sitting, yourself, myself, and everybody else around, we all owe a responsibility to this country. Because you can imagine, before our time, before it was imagined we'd be born, there were people who died. Their blood was spilled for this land of ours here. They did all kinds of things just to remove the colonial yoke and have an independent Kenya. And then every generation has its milestone. We talk about the first liberation. We talk about the second liberation. We talk about the third liberation. For us now, we're talking about economic liberation. We're talking about economic emancipation. This is it now. So, being a Odinga has nothing to do with anything. I'm just another patriotic Kenyan who wants to do the best for this country. Because we have something. If you look around, and I've been around to some other countries in my little time. And when you look at Kenya, after you step out, sometimes I always wish we could just take everybody, drop them in the neighborhood, you don't have to go far, Uganda, chip, back. Or Tanzania, chip, back. Or now, even better, is Somalia. So they can see, when you say, Ruto must go. And he asked, how do you want me to go? Because we have a constitution. We have rules. We even Baba, despite all the grievances, we always come back and say, look, the next election is another year. We must protect what is Kenya. We must. This is not a choice because we owe it to the past generations and to the future. We are only enjoying what we have now, even this freedom now, because of the sacrifices that those before us made. So why would we be selfish to say that let's destroy everything and we don't live in a vacuum. Some countries will be so happy to see Kenya down in the being Somalia or gun-riddled buildings. Then it means whatever the UN will move next door. Right now the UN is scrambling to live in Kenya, despite what somebody might say. Oh, Kenya is so bad. Why are the international communities rushing to set up base here? Because they're Kenyan, and when you go out to Tanzania, they fear us because your intellect, Kenyan, is high. Your ambition, your desire to deliver, and your standard is not just an ordinary standard. So Kenyans must appreciate ourselves and really, really join hands together and make this country greater than it is. Because who do you know in this region who is greater than Kenya? Despite everything that we can accuse, things are happening, I point fingers here, you point, everybody else points, but we are still on top. Why would we go to the bottom? How would it make sense that let's fall down to the bottom first so that now we can start building from scratch something that we are already on the 20th floor of a 30-story building. You understand? Huh? Yes. So that's what I just in the many words. But I am so grateful for this country. I lived outside for 20 years, by the way. I lived with Rwandese. I saw Ethiopians. I saw Eritreans, I saw the Ugandans, all these Somalis, and I experienced 2 or 3 people, this was in Canada, commit suicide. Somebody has the full scholarship, everything you can give them, but the memory of the horrors, the one guy, the horrors they experienced in their country just to survive, to be there, is too much to live with. One guy is like, I survived, I was a student, international students were talking, said, I only survived because my family fell on me. They hugged, they fell on me. Then I lay like I'm dead for 2-3 days. You can imagine. You know, when you say hallelujah, you thank God, you say, look, let's really, no matter what happens, it is not worth destroying a country, a nation.
All right. In less than a minute, this camera that is behind me, because Kenyans will obviously demand accountability from every leader that occupies a public office. What do you want Kenyans to hold you to account to? That you say, by the time I'm finishing up my tenure as special advisor to the president, this is what I want to achieve. 2 things on that camera.
What I would say, I want Jaoko to be remembered as a breath of fresh air. In the sense, a window that opened and let the air in, and by giving Kenyans access to opportunities within the government. Because the government, I believe, in partnership with the private sector, which is the majority of the people. Because, you know, many of our people are even in Juakali. We, as a nation, we are more on an importation role. We trust what comes from outside more than from our own within. I want to be one of a catalyst that joins with other players, other Kenyans, to turn that around, so that I will not be wearing a shirt from Turkey or a suit from Italy. I'll be wearing something made in Kenya. We can sit and agree. You can see some of the countries that were locked in because of sanctions or whatever they had during between the West and the East and all this. They've been able to move very far, including even Iran and them, Russia, and etc. Different nations. Us as a country and as a continent, it won't hurt us at some point to bite the bullet. Say, hata kama imeshonwa vibaya, it's not sewn so well, let me put it on because it's made by a Kenyan. The prosperity, and sustainability of income, so that every last one of us is at least having a dignified living. We have access to health, we have access to education, and that if I can be part of that kind of legacy, and we're doing cottage industries, like what I saw in India when I went there one time. A guy lives upstairs, a very narrow building. Down here, he's manufacturing. And you know, when they told me we're going to factory, I was expecting a factory, you know. But his factory is small, but it's exporting using the lathe machine. He has the small making bolts and nuts and all that to Mercedes in Germany, and is earning a very dignified living. This is what we are all about here. This is what I want to be remembered with in the short time that we have, because I'm not assuming that I'm going to just be reappointed again as an advisor. So it is between now and the term of the president in this first term. Up to there, my team and I will do our very level best to deliver that to Kenyans.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jaoko, for joining us. Jaoko Oburu Odinga is the Special Advisor, Economic Empowerment and Sustainable Livelihoods under the Executive Office of the President, joining us really to tell us about his new office. He's fairly new in the office. His new office, indeed, and what they intend to do within this period. Thank you very much once again. Asante sana.
Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Asante.